this is from Bentley, without mainstream media reversing its role as the propaganda outlet for the government, is there any chance of saving democracy? How does independent media reach the same level of exposure as mainstream media? Well, independent media is never going to reach the same level of exposure as mainstream media. So I began my career in the early 80s covering the wars in Central America, and I've watched over now several decades the deterioration of the mainstream media. There was a place for people such as myself, for Matt Taibbi, for Glenn Greenwald. A decade ago, even, we were still operating in the mainstream media. That is gone now. There's a couple reasons for that, but the big reason is profit. So the newspapers, it began with the loss of classified ads. Classified ads brought in 40% of newspaper revenue. So that's almost 50% of the revenue once you had Craigslist. And then with the rise of the internet, sellers with profiles can reach or directly to consumers. They don't need the intermediary of the press to get there. So this has had a devastating impact. I think the Washington Post, which is a shell of what it was, lost $100 million last year. Huge layoffs in all sorts of media, Vice and everything else, NPR. And the press has not found its way out of that. The response has been to constrict the range of acceptable opinion or acceptable reporting. The New York Times reporting on Gaza has been just terrible. I mean, just awful. And I mean, everything on Ukraine, they've been awful too. They spent 2 years slogging this fiction that Trump was a Russian asset. I mean, most of their subscriptions are digital, and when they did surveys, they found those with the election of Trump that their viewers wanted stories that bash Trump, and so they catered, like MSNBC, they catered to their viewers. But this, of course, is and ignored stories that their viewers didn't want to hear, like the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop or something like that. So the mainstream media is kind of in free fall, and it's destroyed its credibility. I mean, I think it's been almost suicidal. It's certainly been self-destructive. And you've always had alternative media in the United States. And alternative media has always played the role of shaming the mainstream press, the commercial press, the legacy press into doing their job. That's always been true, from I.W. Wells to Bob Shear's Ramparts and everything else. And the alternative media rarely made money or didn't make much money. But now it's really tough. So you had a few alternative sites that rose up out of the kind of response to the Iraq War. Salon, founded by David Talbot, very fine journalist, Alternate, and others, and they've all just been bought up by hedge fund managers or private equity managers or something, and destroyed. The same was true with Vice News. It's tough. It's very tough to continue. And of course, what has really taken a hit is reporting. There's just less and less reporting being done. And then you have local newspapers atrophying and dying. You have big city newspapers atrophying and dying. And it's a very dangerous situation. I would say that it's one symptom of the death of American democracy. I wouldn't say it's a contributing factor, but it's not. There are many other factors. The biggest being the kind of what John Ralston Saul calls the corporate coup d'etat in slow motion. That's over